Welcome to the Butler Did It. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. I'm excited about this one, man, because my boy Paul Spann is joining me. Y'all know that's my man, my former co-host on the MSR show. So you know when we get to going, it's always a great conversation. And this week we talked about the whole brothers in suits meme, right? Like, have you seen this? Let me drop the picture in right quick. Okay, so this is a meme. It's a video actually that's been going, you know, that it went viral, caused a lot of controversy. We're gonna get all into it. We're gonna get into why it may have been controversial for many people. Should it be controversial for people? And is this indeed a positive image or an antiquated image? We're gonna talk about it, right? My man Paul Spann, he's coming up right now. Looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. What up, P?
What's up, brother?
Cooling, man. Cooling, bro. So we're gonna talk about a couple of things today, man. I like to run through the culture with you. We always like to talk about these things. People know who you are, so we don't gotta go through the whole introduction, man.
No.
Let's start off by talking about the viral video, the video that went viral on X and Instagram. I get used to saying X, by the way, on Twitter.
It's such a strange type of deal to have to do.
It's so weird. Anyway,
yeah. On X.
On X.
Hit me on
X. The thing that went viral on X,
Mm-hmm.
the video of the black men in suits. There's some B-roll of it playing right now. Black men in suits.
Standing in line.
Standing on line, not looking like a fool with their pants on the ground.
Pants on the ground. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why I thought this was interesting is one, the reaction of it. Two, you and I, we've been podcasting together separately for years.
Very long time.
Way back when we were doing the MSR show, I remember the conversation about black men in suits, and we'd always, something would happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some travesty would happen or whatever, something would be going on, and people would feel like, you know what, the way to change the image of the black man is to have a bunch of black men show up in suits. It feels like this happens about once every 2 to 3 years. Someone decides, you know what, I'm going to have the black men in suits show up, and bada boom, bada bing, we're going to fix things. And it always causes controversy. My question to you, my dear brother, who is not in a suit right now.
Boy.
Why do people get so upset over the black men in suits meme?
It's such a strong parallel on both sides, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, if we take anything to just losing it on X, people are just gonna, people like to get in the uproar of anything on X, which is still just funny to say. I just want to say on X 2 times.
On X, yeah, right. Don't say it too much. You might get like banned or something. It sounds pretty shady.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, it speaks of ideology, right?
Mm-hmm.
It speaks like, okay, in 1917 and 1920 and through the 39s, we had the Harlem Renaissance era, where it was apropos for that time to be dressed to the finest of nines.
Yeah,
but it meant something. It meant something socially. It meant something because it separated you, honestly, from the regular common black folks. Or if we were to be for real, it separated you from the niggers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That article of clothing and that amount of I guess sophistication separated, right? Mind you, we still live on so many aberrations of old as far as the black community is concerned.
Yeah.
So there's a vast sector of people who really think that deodorant on feces,
what?
You throw a 3-piece on it.
I was wondering where you was going with that. I couldn't quite figure out
where
you were going. But okay.
A 3-piece suit on top of that, and
on a turd.
And you are in it to win it. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of younger people have a pushback on a certain element of the ideology. And certain other people dig their plant their flag in the sand on the fact that if as a black man put on a suit, change your image, and everything will be great for you, and it's gonna make you a great father, and it's going to make you all these things by putting on
Yeah.
this article of clothing, because now people think that you're something.
Yeah, you know what, and that's absolutely real. And I want to be, let's just keep it a buck though. The suit thing is not exclusive to the black community, right?
No.
Like, there are there are places and jobs and spaces within each culture where wearing a suit is and not wearing a suit and not looking conservative enough is a big deal and will get you pushed out of certain
Certain
rooms, right?
areas.
I
Right.
had to go to a work party recently at a restaurant in Georgetown. I know you're like that.
Yeah. You love it.
And it was told to us like, yo, don't show up with wearing a suit, wearing a dress,
Right.
the shoes is, and it is what it is, right? So I don't want to just say it's only about black people, but I
No.
do think that, and I know you're not saying that, but I do think that some people within the community get a little irritated because it comes off as like stunting. It comes off like fake. Like, yeah, like you said, that's why I laughed about like the tuxedo on the turd or the suit on the turd, right? That's very funny. It's a very funny analogy because it's real, right? A lot of people, I remember, I referenced the video earlier in the intro where the young ladies were talking about someone said, yeah, my baby father went to that jumper, wouldn't take my kid to the doctor that day because he needed to show up to the black men with suits on
And stand in line.
gala. You know what I'm saying? Extravaganza, right? And it does also speak to respectability politics, which is a big thing within our community, right?
Yes.
The idea of dressing yourself up, not necessarily for your own, but to show that you are not, and especially with black men, right? Just to talk about this angle of the negative piece of it.
That's what
I want to talk about another side of it in a moment, but the negative piece of it, I think it just plucks the nerve of respectability politics and people feeling like if I dress these black men up, they may not be turds, they may just be normal, but you don't think they're normal unless I could dress them up in a suit and present them as something softer and safer. The way I look right now and the way you look right now is not acceptable and is quite frankly scary to many people. So I must dumb myself down. I must soften myself up in order to be accepted in the larger society or by the people that you may want to impress or the people that you think have some type of agency over your life. And within our community is a lot of, especially with older folks, there was a lot of white people going to think this if we do that. White people going to think that if we do this. Don't have them white people looking at us like we crazy. So I think that's why it plucks the nerves of a lot of people to see that younger people. Now, these guys, the guy that was running the thing looks like he may have been about our age, but the dudes that out there ranged in age from, let's say, from their 40s to their like teens. This idea of a positive image just because they have on suits. Why is that enough? Why is that a positive image and not just brothers kicking it?
Yeah. Like really, like you said, it's so many aberrations of old, and even like understand. Even when we talk about civil rights, bro, like we're only talking about stuff that some things that date back to the 60s.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So when we're talking about these people, we're talking about people who lived through these things. So and understand when like for you and I, and subsequently for people younger than like for my son is 24. You understand what I'm saying? So like I can look at the world through the lens of my mother and my grandmother and know of the stories that they told me. You and I can speak on our experiences. And even throughout our transitions of being the ages that we are now, going through the 90s and being pulled over by the cops for looking like any other average teenager. And then going through us living the way we live now and expressing ourselves through our clothing, through the knowledge that we have.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So for that older generation, that is still a thing. If I were to ask my Aunt Mary, she would love to see me in a suit and some hard bottom shoes. I would speak. It's funny because I'm 45 now. So and unfortunately not like you found yourself, you have a beautiful wife and my beautiful niece. I'm still raging against the machine over here.
Yeah.
I have the ability, I have an age range of dating pool at the age that I am. You understand what I'm saying? So there are some women that are, that are my age, possibly older.
Yeah.
One lady asked me the other day about hard bottom shoes and all this stuff, and I was like, I think I have one pair, and she was talking to me about. She was like, well, if we go to a gala or something, or you're gonna put on some, some of the, and I was just like, I know how to dress up.
Yeah.
And I will when it's necessary, but I don't deem it like I dress comfortably for what I need to, because it doesn't, like, I know who I am as a man. I don't change. I don't miraculously change when I throw a suit on.
Yeah,
I don't.
Right. You're the same person. You just know how to dress appropriately. But I'm gonna tell you what, P. You know you dating old Jones when you call her a lady.
Right.
You see this one lady I met.
Myself. Some of these women are older than me.
Yeah, I'm about to say, right?
I'm just like,
I met this lady the other day.
certain people really dig, like, and it was funny because I was talking to some of my friends the other day, and I was really saying, I said, man, I really do need to grab myself a couple suits.
Yeah.
Like, I need to grab a couple suits for things that I would like to do in different places that I would like to go. But this ideology of I think also what your generation, my generation, and people younger than us, we're really honing more in on character and whom people are.
Yeah.
And honestly, ridding ourselves of certain of these ideologies of old. Like even when we think about the mental health movement, we think about things that to me and you, when we talk about it, hey bro, I love you. Hey bro, hey, you go to a therapist, that's awesome. Hey, if you think when your father and my dad were our age, no one was saying that.
No,
maybe a few people were.
Yeah, but it wasn't
apropos.
Yeah, there was still a lot of toxic, as they say, toxic masculinity going on, and a lot of, like, a lot of hang-ups
worldly epithets, be it masculine or be it just where the world was at that time.
Right, and that's the thing. And see, so we're trying to break those norms, right? And so to me, there's two things, right? You're right about the idea of, at one point you were just trying to protect your child, so you didn't want them looking like the quote unquote goon, because that person could get gunned down, either harassed by the police or gunned down by their own.
Yeah,
and that was a real.
And I just not to cut you off, but I do want to give that era, those people, and even that ideology certain grace, because back then people we're still getting shot and killed. I'm not even saying it like that, but back then it was much of a larger open season. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure. And it's still, look, we live in DC, and DC and PG County are off the hook right now, crime wise, right? There's a whole nother subject, but it's like awful out there right now. And the cycle tends to repeat itself. And that's why a lot of people feel like ain't no amount of suits you're going to put on going to change that, right? But also, you talked about something in terms of just like how style progresses, right? You mentioned the 30s and 40s. Everybody wore some form of a suit back then, like just or dress shirt or whatever. You didn't even have certain materials, like nylon, and you know what I'm saying? So, times change, right? But also, I think about just like consciously, like what Black people are doing. It really reminds me, and I've said this before, it really reminds me. Well, I wasn't alive in the 70s, but what I know about the 70s and like the Black Power movement and the natural movement, right? And then also, this is something I talked about a lot on my sneaker show that I used to have, that our culture, the Black American culture, is a thing. And just like other cultures have certain clothes and things that they wear that represent them, right? African Americans have that as well. Like you showed your medallion off earlier, right? Like I've got certain things on right now that are representative of African and African American culture, right? This shirt right here, this Lauryn Hill joint, like there's certain things. And one more thing before we switch it up a bit. One more thing, I have worked in mostly white spaces that are non-conservative spaces right now. Sometimes you just work in a conservative workspace. Suit, tie, business attire. That's just life. That ain't got nothing to do with black and white. That's just what you got to wear when you go to work. Certain restaurants are like this. You could choose to go to them or you could choose not to go to them. But if their dress policy is you got to wear this. I remember I went to a little spot with my friends. I had on some Yeezys, right, and like a t-shirt or whatever. and my shoes are like $500. My
Yeah.
shirt is like
Yeah.
$100. Like, you know what I mean? I'm cheaply dressed, but they didn't want to let me in. My man had to come out and kind of talk to the owner and all. They didn't want to let me in. And I was thinking like, man, I don't usually choose to go to a spot like that, but that doesn't mean that spot should not have their dress code. So
their own element of dress code. Correct.
dress codes exist. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I have worked in places that didn't have strict dress codes, and I've watched how other cultures get to dress without having to feel like I am a threat if I look this way. I am a problem if I look this way. And we speaking for black men. We ain't even talking about black women and the hair and all this, all the things they go through, right? Me dressed down, I should not have to walk around feeling like you may think I'm a criminal, or you may think I'm lazy, or you may think I'm a thug. When I work with a person of another culture walking around with a t-shirt on, some shorts, and some thong flip-flops in work, and that person is heavily respected. One more thing, P. I went to a government, basically like a big government event some weeks ago, right? Everybody was suited booting in that jump. One guy came in. This dude had on t-shirt, jeans, tattoos all over the place, sneakers, white guy. Everybody was flocking around him. Everybody wanted to talk to him. You know why? Not because of how he looked, but because his work spoke for itself. They didn't care what he had on. Black people should have that opportunity as well. And I think that's why some of us, if not a lot of us, sort of fight the power on this one. Say I'm going to look how I look, because you need to accept me at some point, not for the forgiveness of white people, but for our own mental health and our own mental sanity, and to show these youngins, man, be you. It is what it is. We the only people that got to wear a costume.
Worrying about the content of your character and actually whom you are. And you've known me for years. And you know that's been my thing for years.
Yeah.
For years, because if you know your self-worth already, right?
Yeah.
It don't matter what element of clothing you have on. It doesn't make you understand. We're not saying at all, or we're not saying that it isn't important to dress apropos for times that it's apropos. But what we are saying is young man, young woman, your character, your intellect will take you much further than any of these things. Things like I said, that we're all this is a young lady's work here.
Yeah.
We have I'm proud of those things. You laugh at me. We talk all about the field, about museum and all those things. But look at all the things that those brothers.
Black is love. Shouts out to Black is love. Bought that stuff at U Street.
Look at all those, and even more importantly, bro, incorporated in what you were talking about as far as natural hair is concerned, and even being okay with it, accepting ourselves for whom and what we are, because there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, think about what we had to have laws passed to wear our hair.
Wear our hair, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My cousin, shout out to my cousin Whitney, who was a news anchor for years. She's told this story. She's been on television telling the story about how she had to force the issue for her locks to not have to have. So it's just it's just weird things, man. But I want to switch it up a bit. Speaking of Whitney and women and black women, right? Because there's a flip side to this coin. Because let's just keep it real. It's not like it's white people passing around this meme of the brothers wearing the suits. It's not like it's a conversation happening in white America. It's happening in black America, and most of the comments have been critical, right? And you and I can kind of laugh at it, and I think a lot of these things that come up for you and I are kind of like, man, we talked about that 10 years ago. It's like, it's like wash, rinse, repeat. But I do find it interesting, especially in the moment that we're in. And we're in a real moment where Black women are being empowered. Black women are empowering themselves. You can see a picture of a bunch of black women at the Beyonce concert with all this silver on, and it's an empowering picture. You can see a bunch of black women at the beach with bikinis on or whatever. That's an empowering picture. It could be black women in business suits, and it's an empowering picture, and everyone recognizes that. Why is it that when black men, even if it's a little corny, choose to empower themselves and have just like a empowering image, why is it met with criticism? Why do we dissect it like this when it's brothers?
That's it's a trifold question. The thing is, obviously
let me ask you before you start that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't ask you why is it as if you believe that. Do you notice or do you think that? And I'm not saying the criticisms come from black women. This podcast that I referenced earlier happened to be black women, but because I want to be real clear about this question, I'm not saying only black women are crapping on this picture. In fact, it's mostly black men that are heavily critiquing this picture. Do you notice that? And if so, why?
I've definitely I saw that in this particular case. But I think specifically to this, I think like it was what we were talking about before. I think it like for certain people, it's an exhaustion in ideology because I don't think that certain black sectors think that it's like a bad thing to gather together or to even promote positivity. I think the pushback is thinking that the only element of positivity is for a black man to throw a suit on. Like I think that's the part of it. No one is against.
Like, where's the work? What else is being done? Yeah, you put on the suit.
There's more. There's much more to it than that. Like the element of teaching. You know what I'm saying? And on that podcast, the women were talking about brothers holding other brothers accountable for them cheating on their wives and all those things. I don't know about all that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like, but what I do know about teaching one another about true elements of self-esteem. Now it can be incorporated in with the suit wearing or with the apropos means of job hunting or even building up your self-esteem. Look good, feel good, but that is not the only thing, and it's not what like and on top of it, just putting a suit on and still not taking care of your family and I can see and not taking your kid to the doctor when they needed to be at the doctor for a photo op.
Yeah,
that's not where it's at either.
Yeah, the podcast we mentioned is the See the Thing Is podcast. Shouts to them, man.
Yeah,
and I appreciate where they're coming from. They're not wrong,
right?
I do think that we are in an empowerment moment. And black women, I always say this, black women are ahead of us on a lot of things. They've been ahead of us on the mental health thing, and they're basically ahead of us on the empowerment movement, right? Like, it started with the Black Girl Magic thing years ago, and now it's kind of just turned into like black women. I see all up and down my timeline, black women having seminars, black women this, black women, all, and it's all dope. And if you hating on it, that's a weird thing to me. It's dope to me. But I do think that what accountability looks like for men and how men hold each other accountable, only men can really figure that out. And it's okay to not know that. Just like I would never understand nor tell a black woman how to hold another black woman accountable. Now, my wife may ask me some advice and go, hey, so-and-so thinks this and this, that, and another. What do you think? And I can give her the best advice that I can. But that's her to another person.
Right.
That's not me telling her how to treat all black women and how black women should. Right. And so these spaces and these images and these things that we do, we're going to have to work them out on our own. And let me say a deep, dark secret that a lot of brothers don't want to say. Some of the things that black women have done in the past and do, currently, we don't be understanding.
Right.
We don't get it. I have a good friend. Shouts to Nikki. I say it. Nikki has like all sorts of like everybody know Freak Nick on social media. She's a superstar. Right. Okay, everybody know, and you see what she promote. Like, she has sister circles and all sorts of stuff that dudes don't do. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's not for me to understand, and that's the bottom line, right? So, what I would just say though, sisters, I get it. You would want a bunch of dudes to get together and go, all right, brothers, we here together to talk about how many of y'all cheating on y'all girl. Let's figure this out. I don't know if it's gonna work like that, but I can tell you, we hold our friends accountable.
Plenty,
and there's more of us doing it. What we don't do, just real quick, what we don't do, P, is broadcast it.
I was about to say,
we don't just get on the board and go, "Today I told my man he needs to take care of his kids." Like, yeah,
like, and even like I said, as we all need to elevate and grow. Yeah. As we all grow in these ideologies, as we're realizing that black fathers are a lot more abundant and present, as we're realizing that even as younger people, we are realizing how to rear children a little bit better. I'm not saying that we have arrived by any sort of stretch of imagination.
No,
I don't mean that. But we're realizing how to shape our minds a little bit differently. Even and a lot of the ideologies on us as Black men need to begin to change from everyone also. Ourselves and and our women and everyone. You know, this is the way that we accept the growth and the movement of everyone else. I think that our and I just want to give a big shout out to our homeboy Nick Charles. Just for me to him because
Nick Charles.
The work that you're doing is helping shape ideology of us, and we need that.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, I could run a laundry. We could both run a laundry list of brothers that go deep, and that's what I'm saying, man. You know, we getting there, and it's the thing about it is that it'll never be perfect.
Right.
We'll never have it all figured out. There are
some of us who do.
Yeah. And there are some of us in our generation that have reached their peak of enlightenment. Sorry, I got to say that again. That have reached their peak of enlightenment. And that is what it is. Some of us are almost 50 years old.
Right.
Some of us are over 50. You know, it is what it is. You always going to grow. But, you know, we're not expecting nobody to turn the Titanic around. A lot of this is for younger people. It is what it is. Maybe some young people need to see some brothers in suits. You know, we're not sitting around hanging out with 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds like that. Even if you have a 15, 16-year-old, you don't really know what they do. You don't, you know, so maybe they need to see that just like some of us need to see it. You know, it's not it's a funny thing to us.
Yeah.
Because we've been through it.
It's not a knock.
No, it's not a knock. And it does make me, you know, it does make us think about the American Idol, pants on the ground, looking like a fool with the pants on the ground.
Walking
looking like a fool.
But
pants on the ground.
You know, even the larger element is something that I know I've pushed for years.
All around, hat to the back. Sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Pull them up. All those things, man. Like I remember when I was 16 or 17, maybe 18, and I used to get pulled over all the time. And I was just a regular teenager, bro. I went to work. I wasn't interested in street. I wasn't interested in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I looked like any other teenager apropos of that time. And I was talking to my mom one time, and she's like, "Well, you know, you do look like this." And I said, "Mom, none of that matters."
Yeah.
Like none of that matters. And obviously we don't live in a perfect world or a society or anything of that sort. But what I think we can learn from this is just that we put more into actual character and the actual things that are going on and building it. Because understand, you can be great in anything. We will teach you how to dress appropriately for the different things that you have to do. But you are great in a sweatshirt. You are great in that hat that you have on. You are great. I wish we didn't have to change our name, but we did.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So,
yeah. Word up, man. Word up. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Butler Did It, man. You guys are amazing. Thank you for always supporting this show. You guys are so super duper dope, man. Listen, if you want to support this show, you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, MSR_Adam, MSR_Adam, or on Instagram at The Butler Did It Pro. Either way, either place, you can find my link tree. You can subscribe to the podcast version of this show, so you can subscribe and follow and do whatever on all podcasting platforms. And of course, right here on YouTube, you can subscribe, you can like this video, all right? And you can click the bell so you can be alerted whenever I make new content, shorts, long form podcasts, whatever, is always right here. Okay. Thank you so much for all of the support. Listen, remember to mind your mental health. Mind your mental health. That's the goal. Always that's the goal. Okay. Remember to mind your mental health. Remember to mind your physical health. It's just as important. Okay. Get out there, get active, do something. All right. But never forget and always continue to be great. I'm up out of here. Peace.